The drive to find bigger weapons, the overwhelming urge to use them, and the need to prove your dominance over those around you. We're not talking about every stand-your-ground shooter you've ever heard of in Florida. This is Dauntless. Dauntless is a 2019 action role-playing game developed by Phoenix Labs and published by Epic. It's currently available on PC, PS4, and Xbox. So in Dauntless, your world has been broken into pieces and is now called the Shattered Isles. What's left of humanity is hanging on by a thread, and you need all the resources you can get to make sure that humanity can stay strong and try to thrive once again. But the problem is there are giant monsters called behemoths who are taking all of those resources for themselves. And to make matters worse, they are hell-bent on the destruction of anyone who crosses their path. So it's up to you and your fellow slayers to go out and destroy these monsters before they take out the rest of humanity. So as you guys know, when I talk about games, I talk about the good, the bad, then I give you my score. That being said, let's start with that Dauntless goodness. The game is free to play and it's pretty fair about it. It doesn't feel exploitive, and the devs are always balancing the player experience versus trying to make some money, which is understandable. They do have to pay bills. The game is cross-platform and it pulls it off seamlessly. I'm playing on an Xbox One X and I'm constantly playing with people on PC from all over the globe. The world of Dauntless is bright and colorful. You'll find yourself playing in nighttime levels, daytime levels, levels at sunrise or sunset. Sometimes it'll be raining, sometimes it's foggy, sometimes it's snowy. So there's a lot of atmosphere in this game, and again, a lot of colors. And all of this makes each hunt feel very unique. Speaking of unique, the customization in the game is just awesome. Not only can you customize your character's physical appearance, you also get dyes to change your armor colors and can mix and match the different pieces of armor to set yourself completely apart from other players. During most of my playtime in Dauntless, my guy has been pink and blue. The hub world of Ramsgate is quaint, colorful, and quirky, with animals just sitting there chilling next to the shops that you'll be frequenting. There's a lot of potential in Ramsgate for gatherings, group events, new shops, and interactive stuff around town. Hopefully that will come into play as the developers add more things to the game. There are 6 different weapon types. You have swords, axes, hammers, chain blades, pikes, and pistols. All of them serve a purpose and have a very unique feel to them. Some are harder to master than others, like the hammer and axe, but pay off like mad when you take the time to do so. All of the weapons and armor can be given elemental buffs that affect creatures in different ways. It kind of reminds me of old school Mega Man. So you go and you fight the fire monster, and then you craft a weapon that has the fire element with it. So then you go and fight the ice monster, and if you're using that weapon that has elemental fire damage, you actually get a bonus to your combat. I think it's a pretty cool system and it works really well. The co-op experience is seamless and can be a real blast with 3 other players who communicate. Team composition can also help make a big difference in your hunts. So if you get on there with 3 different people and you guys are coordinating really well, you have different weapons and everything else, hunts can be really fast, efficient, and enjoyable. And part of what makes this game's combat so enjoyable are the tutorials. At the start of the game, they don't just throw you into the deep end and have you fighting and trying to figure things out. They'll hold your hand a little bit and make sure you know how all the systems work within the game. It really helps you get prepared for what you're going to face during the game, and it also makes it more accessible for newer players, younger players, and people like me who've never played any type of monster hunting games before. The gear system is deceptively deep, and the right combo of armor, cells, and a solid weapon can drastically change the way that you fight. You can start a guild, you can meet new players in Ramsgate, and of course jump in with randoms. So even a normally solo player experienced person like myself can join in on the fun with people in a lot of different ways. The environments you hunt in are not too big and they're not too small, they're just right, so you can explore and harvest resources without getting too far off from the group. Plus you can send up a signal flare to let everyone know where the behemoth that you guys are trying to hunt is once you've located it. The behemoths themselves are a beautiful thing. There are so many aesthetically unique designs, and every type of behemoth actually has a number of special iterations with unique colors, attacks, and loot drops. The battles are fairly simple at first, but get extremely challenging later on, especially once you hit the double-digit skill levels. That's when you start unlocking the really tricky layered bosses with multiple stages of attacks, minions, and unique assets like portals, thorns, laser guns, and ice stalactites. A lot of care, creativity, and time went into constructing these behemoths, and it shows in how much fun you have when you are fighting them. Valamir is by far my favorite behemoth that I've fought so far. He has warping abilities, he looks really cool, he shoots lasers, the music that goes with him is kind of chill and relaxed. It's just a different experience than fighting any of the other behemoths. And unlike most of the other monsters, his weak spots are not hidden there right out in the open for you to see, so it makes him fun to attack. Combat is simple to learn, but very hard to master with all the different weapon types, the behemoth types, the subtypes of behemoths, their attack patterns, and then of course you have all the audio and visual cues, and there's a lot more things that make combat pretty tricky. This is one of those games that when you play, you have fun and all that kind of stuff, but then you turn on Twitch and you watch somebody who's really mastered the combat, and it's like a ballet. They're flying through and whooping that monster's ass, not taking any damage, and it's just a whole nother experience. And eventually, of course, if you sit there and practice and keep fighting and everything else, you can reach that skill level too, which is pretty cool. And you'll definitely feel that potential once you start getting your build more figured out, which armor you like, which cells you want to use, whether you like a more heavy-handed approach or you want something fast and responsive. And you can definitely be fast and on point with the combat because the controls are very responsive. And I love the fact that you can just turn your game on, pop in, get your fight fix, and then pop out because it's a level-based game and it's not another open world game that takes hundreds of hours. So you can go on here, play for about 15-20 minutes, have your fill, and then stop until the next day or whatever. And of course, if you're broke, this is a game that you can enjoy even without the season pass. So I went ahead and I bought the season pass because I wanted to support Phoenix Labs, but it's very possible to play and enjoy this game without the season pass. Sure, you won't get some of the cosmetic things or the stuff for your personality traits, but you will still get things. You still unlock stuff through the basic pass and through heroic hunts. So whether you pay for the game or you don't pay for the game, Phoenix Labs has you covered. So that's what I thought was good about Dauntless. Now let's talk about that Dauntless badness. This game has more grinding in it than Ladies' Night at a Salsa Club. You will grind for every single thing in the game, be it gear, weapons, season pass levels, you name it. There's going to be a grind for something in this game. Then of course you have the network connectivity issues, which will have you fail hunts quite a bit and leave you without the gear you went in to fight for. So you're in there, you've been fighting this monster for like 20 minutes, you're about to win, everyone is tired, they're weak, they're all out of their potions or whatever, and you're excited because you're about to win, you're about to get all that sweet loot that you went in there for so you can upgrade your weapon or your armor or whatever, and then the network drops you out of the game and says, sorry, you don't get anything. See you later. And that's if you can actually get into the game. The servers are so full that I ended up waiting up to an hour or more just to get into the game. I was number 70,000 in the queue. There were 69,999 players ahead of me waiting just to get into a server. Now granted, it's a brand new game, it's free to play, so they're building up the servers as fast as they can, and I do appreciate that, but man, it is super frustrating when you just want to pop into the game, get your fight on, and then get out, but you have to wait all that time just to get into a server? For pretty much all of the interactions in the game, you have to hit the A button. So whenever you go to pick up things, or you're going to harvest stuff, or you go to start a conversation, you hit the A button, or you hold the A button. The problem is anytime you have to hold down the A button instead of just tap it, about 50% of the time actually it doesn't work. You have to move around, try it again, move around, try it again, and that's really frustrating, especially when you're on a hunt trying to find the creature and you just happen to pass some of the ore or the rocks or whatever and you want to collect that. Most of the time I don't even bother anymore because I don't want to waste the time that it takes to run around and hit the A button 3 or 4 times, holding it, moving, holding it, moving. It just sucks and I don't bother with it anymore. While the game does look cool, it has its own aesthetic style, it's lots of bright colors and unique designs. I mean, it does look a little like Fortnite, but whatever. The graphical pop-ins that you run into can be pretty common, especially when you get into Ramsgate, which isn't that big, but as you're rounding the corners, you're seeing benches and people and all this other stuff just appear in front of your eyes. There's been a few times that I've actually fallen through the game world into nothingness. I've been flung super high into the air, and I've been slingshotted across the map off the edge of the arena, and then I had to run back all the way from the beginning of the level to the hunt. And by the time I got there, the hunt was almost finished and I didn't get a lot of the pickups from the stuff that the creature dropped, and that was frustrating. You'll run into choppy animations sometimes, whether that be with the characters or with the actual cutscenes. One of the opening cutscenes has this really important story beat, and as I was watching it and I was getting into the story and the animation and everything, it started getting really choppy and it completely ruined the experience and pulled me out of the game. Sometimes you'll actually run into frame rate issues too, and that's even when there's not a lot of stuff going on screen. So that's kind of a mystery to me why that's happening, especially on the Xbox One X. You're definitely never going to run out of anything to do in this game because it gives you so many quests at once. And some of them require so many sub-objectives to complete. Honestly, what it feels like is if you were playing one of those big RPGs and every single time you went into a town, you talked to everyone right off the bat, got all of those side quests, but you don't actually start doing those side quests until you visited every town and got every quest. So then you have this massive list, you're not sure where to start, and you feel overwhelmed, almost like, Jesus, how much stuff do I have to do? So this game feels kind of like that multiplied by 10. In the game, you get these things called cores. Cores are like the game's loot boxes. So you have to deal with RNG with them and all that bullshit. But the thing is, you get so many repeat low-level cells. You know, you have your green, you have your blue, and you have your purple. And the overwhelming majority of the cells that you're going to get are these low-level green ones. You're not going to get a lot of the really good ones. Now, you can take 2 of these low-level cells and convert them to a higher level, but that actually takes 48 hours to happen. Now I get that it's free to play, but 48 hours just to produce 1 cell is a lot. Now another thing that you're going to have to deal with because this game is free to play, that means the level of entry is super low. So anybody who has, you know, a PS4, a computer, or an Xbox can play this game as much as they want. So when you go into a hunt, expect your squad mates' skill levels to vary wildly. One hunt, you're going to have a bunch of really good squad mates and you guys are just going to kill that behemoth really fast. And the next, you're going to be with 3 new players all using pistols, and it's going to take forever if you even get the hunt finished. So get ready to have to clutch or hope that your teammates can clutch. The behemoths have a danger meter, and when that danger meter reaches 100%, your teammates cannot even revive you. So if everyone gets down while that danger meter is at 100%, you fail that hunt. So even if you just fought that creature for 20 minutes, guess what? You have to come back and start that hunt all over again. A lot of times you'll be running around trying to find the behemoth, and you'll see your teammates' health meter start to run down, which tells you that they're fighting the behemoth. But lo and behold, they didn't fire off a flare. You actually get signal flares in the game that tell everybody the location of where the creature is. So as soon as you see it, you fire off the signal flare, it goes up in the sky and everybody can see it. Plus, it shows up on your compass on your heads-up display. But so many people don't use it, which is pretty inexcusable when they actually talk about it in the tutorials. So to upgrade your gear, you have to find, different pieces of creatures and the different elemental types and ore and all that kind of stuff. And as you get higher up into the game and you want to upgrade your armor or your weapons more, you kind of run into these bottlenecks because it requires so many different pieces just to do an upgrade to one part. So what that basically means is you're going to get these quests to fight these newer, tougher creatures, and you're going to be underpowered. Your armor's not going to be strong enough. Your weapon's not going to be strong enough. And that can be really tough when you're trying to fight a Riftstalker or a Koshai, which are these really hard to beat creatures that produce all of these different attacks and portals and thorn bushes and all this stuff that you have to navigate. So it's hard enough just to get to them to fight. You have to also avoid all of these offensive capabilities that they have. And while I do love the fact that you have all this different gear and you can customize and everything, I don't love the fact that there are no type of loadouts. So you can't create like 3 or 4 different preset builds that you can switch to back and forth. You have to actually go in between matches and completely change out every piece of gear and maybe have to change out all the cells on them and everything else every single time you want to face off against a different creature. It got so frustrating at one point that I just changed all my gear to neutral, where it didn't have any elemental stuff. I was just average. But I didn't have to change my gear over and over, and I had it leveled up enough to where it still made a difference. Hunts can take up to 5 minutes or more to launch, and if you try to cancel that matchmaking, it often gets stuck and it won't let you exit. And that also happens sometimes in the summary screen. So after you finish a hunt and it's telling you everything that you did and the different gear that you got, and you try to exit back out to the hub world, it gets stuck. And the only way to fix that is to restart the game. And that means, of course, when you do restart the game, you have to wait in the queue to get back into the server. And again, that can take up to an hour, and I've heard up to 3 hours for some people in different locations around the globe. So they really need to fix the matchmaking bug and the summary bug pretty quick. Now, I do love the fact that the game is crossplay and you can play with people from all the different platforms and all that stuff. I really like playing with the PC players because they tend to use their mics and be more organized than the normal Xbox player. But I have yet to see one PS4 player the entire time I played. I don't know why, but there are no PS4 players. It's only Xbox and PC players here in Qatar. I wish the interactions with the NPCs were voice acted or in cutscenes because the text is a bit bland. Honestly, it just feels like the devs said, you know what, no one cares about the story or these kind of things, they just want to get in and fight the monsters, so we're going to make everything as minimal as possible. I really wish there was more story and more cinematics. It would definitely keep me more invested and keep me wanting to come back more. I still do want to play because I enjoy these big boss battles, but I'm not sure if there is enough here to keep me invested. I'm sure they're going to add a lot more stuff over time, but will myself and other players still care about this game? Are they going to add more to the story? Are they going to add more world building? Are they going to add more cinematics? I guess we'll find out. So overall, Dauntless is a fun but oftentimes frustrating experience. Now, that is made up for by the fact that the game is free to play, but only by a little bit. This game has a ton of potential to bring in more players and to do really creative stuff with the world and with the creatures. If they follow and enhance the formula that Fortnite has built up with events and unique skins and holiday and seasonal events, then this could be something really special. But as it is right now, it's pretty bare bones and it needs a lot of work. That being said, what is my score? Drum roll, please. 6 out of 10.